For generations you've slept.
Hi, and welcome to this guided Warframe Beginner Walkthrough. I'm MHBlacky, and in this video series, we're going to start a brand new Warframe account and play through the entirety of the game, start to finish, while I explain everything you need to know, what to focus on, and give some helpful tips and advice. So, no matter if you're new to the game and feel overwhelmed by all the stuff that it throws in your face, or you just want to have some second monitor content while you're doing something else, this video series is for you. Now, before we finally jump in, I'm going to talk over the intro here for a moment because there are a couple of very important things that I need to say. First off, this is going to be a completely free-to-play playthrough. We're not going to spend any money on this account, so nobody is left behind. Secondly, I want every player to be able to replicate this playthrough one-to-one if they choose so. Meaning not only are we going to stay completely free to play, but I'm also not going to accept any gifts, help, or assistance that would influence my experience with the game in any way. I know a lot of you might want to help me out on this journey, and don't get me wrong, this is super nice and I really appreciate your kindness, but the thing is, I'm a big Warframe YouTuber with you guys, a big and awesome community. So if I were to use that to my advantage to progress in the game faster, then this whole playthrough would sort of miss its point of trying to help out new players who don't have all these things. I hope you understand what I mean here. And finally, I'm going to keep spoilers to an absolute minimum. Of course, if you were to jump ahead from episode 1 to 50, sure, you would likely be spoiled, but what I'm saying is, I won't give away what's going to happen in the story, and I will try my best to inform you ahead of time if something story relevant is going to take place, so you can pause and experience it for yourself first. Big shout out to all generous channel members who help me keep the lights on. Leave a like if you want to support the series, sub to the channel to not miss out on future episodes, and with all that being said, let's jump right into it.
Wake up, Tenno. Wake up.
And just like that, we're now in the game. I'm so excited because it's been ages since I had a experience of the new player feel of Warframe. It's been like 2019 when I did my Warframe walkthrough on my German channel back in the day, so it's been pretty much 5 years since I last experienced how Warframe looks for a new player. So yeah, that was the intro, and before we jump right into the action, we gotta now go and pick which one of these 3 Warframes, Excalibur, Mag, and Volt, that we saw in the intro, we want to have as our first character. Now, to be fair here, I don't want to go all too much about what these characters can do and can't do because I have a dedicated guide explaining this in more detail already on my channel, so if you want more in-detail information on your choice right here before you make it, definitely go check that out. In short words, Excalibur is very streamlined, very easy to understand, good for a new player who has never had any contact with Warframe. Mag is a bit more squishy, but she has crazy damage potential later on, but that later on being like 50 or more hours into the game. And then Volt is a very good all-rounder with a kit that can do a lot of different things for a lot of different scenarios. And pretty much it's, up to your personal preference who you think appeals to you more. I personally am going to choose Excalibur right now because, he's the poster boy of Warframe, and for a Warframe walkthrough, it's kind of fitting, if you ask me, to go with a little Excalibur right here who nicely stole all the screen time from his comrades in the intro. One thing that is relatively new is we can pick a visual customization before we jump into the first mission right off the bat. That was not always the case. I personally think I'm gonna go with the red one right here. That looks menacing. We can also talk about the skills right here, but it's really like we're gonna get into it as we play the game. For now, let's just confirm our selection right here and jump right into the first mission. So we just woke up from our centuries-long sleep, as it seems.
I see the Lotus has tried to wake you. Pity she's too late. You're my prize now, Tenno. No. We are taking this one with us.
What has he done to you? I can't lose another Tenno. I'm surging your Warframe's power systems.
And there we go. We're now at holy what? The mouse sensitivity. Oh god. Oh god, the mouse sensitivity. Okay. I just wanted to start explaining what's actually going on screen and what just happened. So let me quickly rebind my keys and everything so that I can actually play this game. So let's get back to it. Yes, that feels a bit better. Okay, so we're now actively in the game, and I'm so excited. It's been so long since I played this game as a new player, and I can't wait to experience all of this again with you in this dedicated Warframe walkthrough. Or should I call it Warthrough? That would be also nice. Let's quickly go over what I wanted to say. We picked Excalibur right here, but no matter which choice in terms of Warframes you make, you will always be able to, play along this walkthrough, no matter if you choose Mag or Volt or Excalibur as well. So don't feel like you're missing out on something or that I'm going to do anything drastically different just because I'm having Excalibur and you might not. Pick whichever Warframe sounds more fun to you. This was the beginning of the tutorial quest right here. As we see, this is the room from the intro movie where the Warframes were sitting and the girl was sort of summoning them or putting down the lotus flower. We're going to hear more about the story as we dive deeper into the Warframe lore. But first of all, let's try to get to our extraction ship right there and to get out of here, away from the Grineer that are hunting us down. By the way, this forest here looks absolutely gorgeous. It's a beautiful visual tutorial right here. Great first experience when you start the game. Pick our first melee weapon, and we have a choice of the stick right here, that is the bow, and the skana, which is a sword. Now, before we make that choice, I want to show one quick thing right here. If we hit escape and then look into the abilities, Excalibur has a passive ability that gives him a bit more attack, like a bit more damage with sword type weapons. And the skana is very much a sword, so we're obviously going to go for this one instead of the stick. The bow, by the way, at first, all these enemies are still very, very easy. Like, we don't really need to pay that much attention. They're pretty much unable to do any harm to us. But, it's still the tutorial level. Now we're learning to jump. I'm going to try to get through it a little bit faster because, it's the tutorial level. I don't have to add all too much here. These are resource containers. If you break them, they have resources inside them. You can also see it in the bottom left corner. Maybe to talk a little bit about the UI, in the top right corner, we have our shield that recharges and our health that only recharges if you have certain abilities or you pick up a health pickup. In the bottom right, you see which abilities we have and our energy bar. For example, if I use our first ability again, that would be slash dash, the one that we utilized at the very beginning. You see our energy just went down from 100 to 75, and that means every ability cast costs energy. If you have the energy, you can spam the abilities as much as you want. If you don't, then you need to pick up a energy orb to refill your energy. Sorry, talking is hard at times. Just so you understand that part of the HUD. And in the top left of the screen, you see the minimap, which isn't all too telling at this point in time. So let's go down into the forest a little bit more. And now we learn how to slide. If you press your crouch button, you can, normally crouch, like in a standard third-person shooter. But if you do so while moving, then you go into the slide animation, which is pretty nice. You can utilize this to your advantage in many different ways. Oh, I think this is the place from the start of the intro movie, right? This is kind of horrifying what's going on here. Jeez, Grineer have not been sleeping. Of course, when we sneak up to enemies that are not aware of us, we can initiate a melee stealth kill if we want to do that. And now we can choose our secondary weapon. The choice here is relatively up to personal preference, I would say. We have the kunai, it's like throwing knives. These are silent, so enemies are not made aware that we're there if they haven't noticed us beforehand. And the other one is pretty much a standard pistol, the Leto. It's a hit scan weapon, you can shoot at enemies. I personally prefer the Leto. I think throwing weapons in Warframe, I'm not the biggest fan of it. Absolute pain. I don't like them. I'm not going to use them. And I think the game really urges us to shoot at these little animals just by placing them in our way constantly.
A Tenno flows like fire over the battle terrain. Do you remember how to dash up walls?
Oh, of course. You can run up walls or run alongside walls in Warframe. This is pretty easy. You just jump against them and then hold the jump button down as you go up. And that's that. Here we have another resource container, which gave us some credits. That is the in-game currency, by the way. We use that to buy stuff from the market and to turn resources into weapons, warframes. Basically, it's what you can use to pay pretty much anything. Right now, the game tells us to use the bullet jump. The bullet jump is pretty much the quote-unquote number one movement technique in Warframe, and that is when you're crouched and then you press the jump button while you're crouched, you're going to move this, you're going to make one of these bullet type of animations and a long quick jump into the direction that you're aiming. So if you crouch and aim upwards, you jump upwards in quite the height there. And one more thing I should say is you cannot only do this from a crouched position, but also when you're in the slide. Like when you're in a slide, you can still execute a bullet jump and therefore chain these animations together to be pretty darn quickly. This is pretty much what we're going to do as Warframe players on a day-to-day basis just to get through the mission quicker, to be more time efficient, and it's not too difficult. It might look crazy, but honestly, with 30 minutes or so of practicing, you're going to have that in your muscle memory, no problem. I hope we're going to get to our landing craft soon. Seems like it. A nice one. Oh no, how unexpected. Don't worry about it though, the landing craft is absolutely fine. No landing crafts have been hurt in the recording of this video. It's just a flesh wound. It's gonna heal. I promise. So, let's give Captain Vor a fair beating, shall we? But the damage is not so noticeable. Oh, I killed another animal, no.
Lock the area down. This Tenno is mine.
Okay, so the area is locked down. This is also something to remember for the rest of the game. Whenever doors are like yellow, that means they could be open, but you need to interact with the console in order to do that, which is what the game is teaching us right now. Look, he's hiding. He's like, I'm not here for this. I'm not getting paid to fire these types of enemies. No, my paycheck is not high enough to die for this cause. Too bad for you. And as you see now, the gate opened up. Okay, now we chose our melee weapon, we chose our secondary weapon. The next thing that we're going to choose is our primary weapon. And here we have the Paris, which is a bow, a silent weapon. You can use this to annihilate enemies without being noticed. But I personally gotta say, for the early game, I like to have a hit scan fully automatic rifle and pistol type weapons. Because against, those Grineer type enemies, the enemies that we're fighting here, the bow is actually pretty good, but very soon we're also going to face other enemy types where the bow at the beginning of the game is really not that good. Like, you can surely make this a good weapon, especially later on if you have more upgrades, but from a beginner standpoint, I prefer the straightforward rifle type of playstyle, so we're going to go with the Bratton fully automatic rifle and use that as our primary of choice for now. You can also shoot at barrels. That deals a decent amount of damage. And what the game is telling us right now is the aim glide. Aim glide is pretty much what you saw in the Matrix movies, if you are an old person like me. And that is when you aim while you're in the air, you pretty much disable gravity. Like the falling, like you barely fall down, and it's pretty cool. So you can jump through the air, go into aiming mode, and then shoot at enemies while you fly around. This is sometimes very useful in combat, not always though. And that's what the game was basically saying right here. These things are lockers, which can contain credits or resources or whatever you might or might not want. You can, by the way, what I just did there, if you do a jump and you feel like you're kind of falling short a bit, what you can do is just press the aim glide button mid-air to reduce the gravity and sort of be able to still make it. Okay, so here we have another landing craft, or maybe it's the old one, just in a repaired version. As I said, just a flash wound. And this is a tutorial of the hacking minigame. In Warframe, you're going to encounter a lot of consoles where you need to hack them in order to be able to progress. And this is one way of doing it for Grineer console. You got to press spacebar whenever this little round going arrow is over the sections. And yeah, it's pretty relatively easy, but if you don't like hacking, that's also no problem. There are items later on that can avoid these types of systems.
Are my senses deceiving me? Operator, is that you?
Enemy reinforcements are here. Ship Cephalon, we require immediate extraction.
The operator is in danger? I will need a few moments to cycle the engines.
Tenno, are you afraid? You cannot hide from these old eyes. I've marked you. You will return to me.
Like right now, the enemies really don't deal a lot of damage. You can also look at the health and shield bar that I have. We're basically being untouched here. And yeah, you can clearly see this is the tutorial. But as we get deeper into the game, this will change quite a bit. But yeah, that is so much for the intro mission so far. That was the very tutorial that explains pretty much just how to move, how to do the very basic things. What you see right here is usually what you're going to see when you log into the game on any given day. This is sort of a tribute that you get for logging in. It's your daily login reward. You get random stuff here, random resources, or maybe a little booster here and there for just logging into the game. So I would recommend doing that on a daily basis, no matter if you plan on playing for a long time or not. And at certain milestones, like for example here, which would be, I think, the 5th day, you get a special reward. So it is definitely paying off to log in often. We're not going to do that for now.
TheKengineer are ravenous for this old technology. It is superior to theirs. Perhaps there are systems left in the orbiter compartment?
Okay, so,
Look at this mess.
and he is interrupting me, of course. Can I talk now? All right. So this is our base of operations. It's the orbiter. This is not the landing craft that we left the level with. The landing craft is just, you know, a little vessel to get us from A to B. This here, the orbiter is sort of our invisible big spaceship where we have all the stuff that we need, our arsenal management, where we can look at our weapons, upgrade, craft, all that stuff. It's a relatively big one. Those doors right here will make sense later on in the playthrough, so I'm not going to spoil anything just yet. And what we need to do here, as of right now, is to revitalize the consoles of the orbiter, which, let's just do that. Install the segment to power it back up.
You honor Ordis. Now I can supply the operator with better monitored firepower. Oh, the violation. Those have been looted as well.
We need to figure out what Captain Vor has done to you and stop him. But we'll need help. I've found a communication segment we might salvage for your ship. When you are ready, activate your navigation system.
Ordis hopes the operator will punish the TheKengineer for dismantling it.
Okay, so what we just did is activate the arsenal. This is pretty much the most important console in the entire orbiter. It's where you go to actually change your weapons, upgrade stuff. For example, we can swap our Warframe here and equip other Warframes in case we had them. Right now we don't, so we're not going to do that. We can also change the appearance by giving other colors to our little Warframe here. So I could go and give maybe blue shoulders, which doesn't look all too good. I like the white though. That's nice. Also gave an achievement. Cool. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Right now, we don't have much options in terms of visual customization, but that's going to be perfectly fine. Do we have a good green here? And what our mission is now is to go and get the other missing components for the ship back. For example, to access this console or to access this console. You can also see there's a little sign that says that we need a certain component to bring that back to life, to repower it with the energy. Just one thing that I wanted to take a look at first is I see in the top right corner there is a unread message in our inbox. So let's take a look at that. And oh yeah, okay. This is the inbox where you will constantly get messages when new events or stuff is going to go on in the game. This right here, Gift of the Lotus 11th Anniversary, this is an event that is going on for the entirety of 2024. Basically what it means is if you log in this year at some point, you will get the Dex Nikana, which is a melee weapon, completely for free. It's actually a pretty good weapon. And this is sort of to celebrate Warframe's 11th anniversary. We're not going to do anything with that just yet, even though we have it, because, it's a later game weapon. We cannot even equip it at this point. Just in case you were watching this and you're interested in maybe getting into Warframe, if you still do it this year, you will also get a Dex Nikana, which is definitely a nice little cookie to get before jumping into the game. And this right here, I don't know why we get this. Maybe this is also sort of a new player reward. We get 3 items called Forma. Not going to delve into what this is just yet. We're also not going to use it, but just keep in mind, having a lot of Forma is always good for every player. So I'm definitely not going to complain that we get these 3 Forma and the weapon right here. Just for, right now, this is not going to be important anytime soon. So let's take a look at the mission select screen. This right here is the star chart. This is, as I said, your mission select screen. You click on a planet and then you have little mission nodes right here that you can select. You go in, do the mission. It's a randomized tile set. When you succeed, you unlock the adjacent mission node. Then you do that and then you go on and follow this little path to the edges of the planet to then go and unlock the next planet. Rinse and repeat until you have the entire star chart done. This is pretty much Warframe, the story playthrough, what we're going to do here in a nutshell. That is our main goal for the next 50 gajillion episodes. I'm super excited to experience all that again. Before we do anything though, I want to draw your attention to this button right here. This is where we can select our matchmaking options. By default, Warframe will search for a public random squad to team you up with when you select a mission. This is the default, but as a new player, there is a lot to explore and you might want to take your time to really take a look at all the stuff that is going on. So I would recommend for any person starting out Warframe, set it to solo for the time being so that there's no team bashing you for standing around, no team rushing you through the mission. The early missions are super easy anyway, so you don't really need help. And by going solo, you give yourself the time and the leisure to really go about it at your own pace. We're going to team up with public squads at some point. For now, we're going to keep it solo. I'm going to cut it a bit short for today. I'm going to end this episode, this first episode of the walkthrough right here. And we're going to have a whole lot of other stuff to do in the next one. A ton of missions. We're going to repower the entire orbiter. And that is what's going to happen in the next episode. I hope so far you have enjoyed this first little taste of what this walkthrough is going to be looking like. If you did so and you haven't already, then you might want to consider leaving a like or subbing to the channel to not miss out on any future episodes. Another big shout out to Niels V, Demon Lord Zell, Demon Emperor, Emperor Prime, Nost Linux Gaming, Lycan Shepherd, Turtlepeer, Pepperwolf, Ondakani02, MissFireDX, StreamJet21, SionofKing5000, Griblip Yixi, Mihawk HE, Yagis, Hoke Hunter, and all generous channel members for your continuous support. We see each other, hopefully in the next one, and until then, as always, good loot.